Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is Jennifer Long, Machine Embroidery Manager at Radley Blake Designs, and I am so excited to be with you here today again to stitch out Hoop 9, Block 9 of the Prim Stitch Along. We are doing the shaker boxes. So exciting. This is going to be a really fun and thread showcasing stitch along. I cannot wait to see what this block does when we create it together. Now, before we begin, I just want to let you know, if you're here for the first time, please come on over and watch any of our past Prim Stitch Along videos. We have them for every single block in this stitch along. We are doing a video series for it, as well as a ready set where you can see how we prepare everything. So all the supplies so that they are ready to go for our stitch along. If you have been stitching with us or you're just getting started, please come over and join us over in our Facebook group, RBD and M.E, Machine Embroidery, where you can share your progress and share what you are stitching. All right, let's get started. So the very first thing is we want to make sure we have everything ready and set. So I have my block label that you can download right from your USB. This one is called the Shaker Boxes. And then I have my two fabrics that I need for this block. Then I have all of my threads here that I'm going to need in the order that they appear. And I just like to do this so that it's just quick and easy, but it's also I can see what's coming and ready to go. A couple things I want to remind you is there are a few threads that are actually repeated a couple of times, and that's due to layering. So just make sure that your machine does not have a setting on it where it's combining the same colors. If it's combining the same colors, then it's going to pop one over from over there and put them together. We want to make sure that they all have their color stops, but they're layered correctly on the design. Next up is you want to choose what size you are stitching. There is 3 sizes for every block: 6x10, 8x12, 9x14 stitchable areas. I'm stitching the 6x10, but just make sure that you have the correct one pulled up on your machine and the correct block is there. You're going to notice on your machine that the block is actually rotated on your design, and that's just for best fit inside of the hoop. So you're actually going to notice that that block is actually rotated like this. It's going to stitch out this way in your hoop, but don't worry, we're going to trim it and all will be correct. The next thing we're going to do is I'm just going to move this fabric over here just to make a little bit more space for us. I like to have a lot of table space around me so that we can do all of our hoop necessity and trimming on a nice flat surface. So you'll notice the very first thing is just a hoop icon. There's no numbers. The number actually correlates to the number on your machine. So this means it's just an action step. You are going to take your hoop and you're going to layer one layer of heavy tearaway stabilizer, and then one layer of this PP fabric that is already been fused. So you can see it's been fused there, and the stabilizer. Now I'm going to put them together on top of my hoop and center them so that they are have about the same amount over all of the edges. Then you're going to take your inner hoop, and you don't need to pull your fabric. You're just going to press down, and that is going to be enough, just having it pressed down, good, as it comes down and in there. From here, do not pull on your fabric because that's going to distort your fabric inside and your stabilizer. Just use it against your flat table, and then you can lock your hoop into place. Good. Then your hoop is ready to go. Next up, we are going to do our placement stitch. So this is so we know where to put our appliques in our fabric, and there is no thread color here. So you can choose to put whatever thread color you would like. I'm actually going to put in our first thread color because it's always going to be hidden, so I'm going to follow along. The first thread color is actually thread number 8. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in there so I'm ready, but you're welcome to change these however you see that you want fit, that you want like to. All right, let's begin. So you have your first placement stitch there, and you will notice that this is the top of the pineapple, but it's kind of in a funny position. That is because the block is actually going to stitch out like this. So the block is going to stitch out like this for best use of that hoop. So don't worry, it's in the right position. It's just tilted 90 degrees. Step number 2 is a tack down stitch. We're going to place our fabric A right side up, and you're going to take that fabric and center it over your tack down stitch or your placement stitch. I'm just going to take a little look here and make sure that there's at least a 1/2 inch on all 4 sides as we work our way around so that the design is fully supported there and we're going to have the best use and ease for trimming. Then again, you can opt to which thread color you want to use here or just keep the same thread color in. And we're going to stitch out step number 2. All right, adorable. All right, you'll notice on our Riley Blake Designs tack down stitches that we do 2 layers of stitching that are very close together. That is intentional, and that is there to give you a little bit of extra security. If you accidentally cut the first layer, you have the second layer there in place. So now I'm going to trim not inside the machine, but I'm going to remove the hoop and do it on a flat surface with my curved applique scissors, and I'm going to hold that excess fabric. I want to keep my wrist in as much of a straight position as I can and not try and get really kind of twisted around. I'm going to instead rotate that hoop. So I'm going to start off by getting right to that corner, and then I'm going to rotate just 45 degrees and keep working around the design. And then trim off. You can just keep doing this around the design, and you want to get as close as you can. So to get into these tiny little pieces in these corners, just using the very tips of the scissors, releasing, holding the fabric here, and also taking tiny little snips and just giving it a gentle pull as you work your way in. Once you've trimmed everything, I just take a little extra time and see if there's any extra threads there. This is going to give me the most beautiful cover stitch without any poking through. All right, the first little piece is already in place. That is our trim step. Next up is step number 3, the placement stitch. You can opt to change your thread color here again, or you can just leave it as it is because it will get covered up by a cover stitch coming down. I'm going to go ahead and stitch step 3 without changing my thread. Okay, so now we know where to put our next fabric on step number 4. This is our second but last fabric, fabric number K, and you can have some fun with this fabric. So you can place it exactly as you have it here and have it straight on, but what it's actually showing you on the picture is to do a 45-degree angle, so it's kind of on point, and it really gives that pineapple, kind of those pineapple elements of what a pineapple looks like, and just have it totally on point. Again, I'm just going to check all my corners here and make sure that that is good. It's almost like fussy cutting your pineapple. It does say place the fabric right side up and diagonally as shown, so at that 45-degree angle for a lot of fun. Let's go ahead and stitch out step number 4, and again, no thread call out here. All right, so let's go ahead and do our trim step coming up. And again, you're just going to follow along, pulling any excess there just to give it a little bit of stability and rotating your hoop on a flat surface. So I'm going to start with little snips and just move my hands along the fabric. Once I get into an area that starts to get a little awkward, I'm going to rotate the hoop and just follow along on that curve. And again, rotate the hoop and nice small little snips all the way around until you get the cute pineapple. All right, let's take a little snip and see if we can get any additional threads needed and brush them out of the way. Okay, so our pineapple has the fabrics that it needs. Next up is step number 5, which is a cover stitch. It is going to cover the top of the pineapple and also give us the stems for our flowers. You have thread number 8. I put it in at the beginning, but if you haven't yet, now is the time to lay out thread number 8. All right, moving right on to step number 6, we can change the thread for a cover stitch and a detail stitch. But before you begin, if you have your jump stitches trimmer turned off or your machine doesn't have it, please do make sure you trim the front and the back of your design for that. All right. So this is going to cover the outside of the pineapple as well as do some detail stitch for the bird. Let's switch this thread out to thread number 20 and begin together. Adorable that is coming. Oh my goodness, so fun. So I turned my jump stitch trimmer off just so I could work along with those of you that don't have that capability on your machine and just show you where that needs to happen. It's really, really easy and just a little extra step. Now, the other thing that I do like about that is that it gives me the opportunity to trim and keep the back of my design clean. So even if you have a trimmer on your jump stitches, this is an opportunity to keep that tidy and clean. Notice that there is a running stitch that runs underneath the bird, and that's because it will get covered up completely. Sorry, like this. Excellent. Okay. Next, we're going to see a lot of fun thread fabric, we like to call it. So this is where the fabric or the thread really gets to shine as if it was a fabric, but it has a lot of clean and light density, but 3 different designs mimicking Lori's gorgeous designer fabric. So we're going to switch to thread number 3 on step number 7 and stitch out these 3 designs. I can't wait to see how they stitch out. Let's have a lot of fun stitching those together. Oh, wow. Isn't that just a beautiful stitch out? It really feels like a celebration of each and every one of these fabrics as you see them in thread. So fun. All right, next up is step number 8 with thread number 11. And here we are going to just do a fill stitch. It's going to actually do 2 places. It's going to do the heart that's in center of the pineapple, but also the bird. So it's going to leave a little bit of openings for other detail stitch that's happening in the bird. So don't worry, but you're going to actually notice that it looks again like it's mimicking one of these fabrics here as it fills in that bird with step number 8 on thread number 11. Oh, it's starting to come to life. How fun is that? Now you will notice all of the different types of fabrics that are being mimicked in the thread. So the thread is really the star of the Prim stitch along here. Look at the daintiness of the flower and even the cover stitch that's over the edge of it. If you need to trim those jump stitches, then now is your time to do that. And I'll do it on the front and the back side. Okay, so next up is step number 9. We have a fill stitch. That's thread number 12. So this thread is a dark thread, and we've talked about this a little bit before in this stitch along. You can just go ahead and change this and go right ahead and stitch, or depending on your tension on your machine and the type of machine you have, you might need to wind a bobbin in the same or similar color and put it at the bottom if you're having trouble with any kind of tension issues. If they still seem to be a problem, I would reach out to your shop that you purchased your machine from. But that is a quick and easy way just to keep the dark threads from kind of peeking out when you're doing a white bobbin at the bottom. So you can go ahead and switch that if necessary. Otherwise, just change the top thread to thread number 12. What do you think? Are those definitely the star of the show? Look at the lids on those shaker boxes. It's just one thread, but it has dimension, so it really feels like it's a multi-thread color. It's so beautiful. All right, this is the time again to trim your jump stitches if you need to do that. And I'm going to do that on the back of my design as well. And then we're going to move right on to the next color. Before you do that, I do want to remind you that if you changed your bobbin thread to match that thread 12, that you do go ahead and switch your bobbin back to a white or a light color. And we are going to stitch out step number 10 with thread number 18. This is going to be the center of the star. We're calling this a fill stitch, as well as the petals on the flower. It's really going to give kind of balance and weight to this design, and I can't wait to see it stitch out. So fun, it's really coming together. Next up is another fill stitch. It's the center of the flowers, and we are going to use thread number 5 to do this. So all you need to do is switch your threads and let's get stitching. It's getting really exciting. Moving right along to the last step on page 34 is step number 12 using thread number 1. So let's go ahead and switch that thread out and let's see what happens to this bird's wings. So super cute. All right, we're moving to the next page now. And we are on step 13 with the last thread color change, which is thread number 7. You're going to see it stitch out in these gorgeous, beautiful leaves with yet another mimicking of fabric here. So let's switch for thread number 7 on step number 13. There it is, the shaker block. It's so adorable, the shaker boxes. Oh my goodness. Before we do this very last step, which is step 14, I do want you to take it out and just check the back. I do want you, because we are going to tear away stabilizer, but we're going to do crosshairs and do trimming. So this is a good opportunity to just, before we pull off our stabilizer, just make sure all of your back pieces are trimmed well and nice, and that everything is not going to get into the way. The last step is step 14. This is the crosshair step. It's a very important step, and it's to help you square up your block and trim it precisely and in the right area. A couple things is you can just leave the thread color in that you have, or you can change it to a really strong accent color both on the top and on the bottom, and you will be able to see it. It's a basting stitch. It's going to be easy to pull out, but we are going to want to make sure that we have it for what's coming here next. So let's go ahead and stitch out step 14, the final crosshair step. All right, here we go. Let's do the very final steps just to get our block prepped with all the other blocks for our Prim stitch along. So the first thing you want to do is just make sure that everything has been stitched out. You don't need to, you didn't miss any steps accidentally before you take it out of the hoop. Then we're going to remove our block from the hoop. So just like that, we're going to set the hoop aside. I'm just going to relax the fabric a little bit here. Next up is carefully tearing away the stabilizer. So this is where you've already trimmed all of your threads. A couple of tips is work on a hard surface when you're tearing away your stabilizer. You're only doing that tear away and not the fusible stabilizer. And just support the stitches as you tear away the edges. So I'm just going to go around and do the outside of the block first, and then get rid of anything that's not manageable to hold in your hand. There's just a little bit left in here, and you can use one of two tools or other tools here. So here I have the Bluebird stiletto. I'm going to opt to use that today, and I'm going to put it through all of these little parts, and I'm just going to use it to lift up the stabilizer and tear it away. Again, keeping it flat on the surface, on your table surface, just so it's easy to work. Great, it looks like this. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to press our block. And one thing that I love to use is the Jill Lily pressing mat. So this is my pressing mat here. I have a wool pressing mat underneath, and this really plush Jill Lily pressing mat goes on top. I'm going to take my embroidery design, and because there's so much embossed detail in here and so much texture, I don't want to squash it with the iron. So I'm going to place it face down onto the Jill Lily pressing mat, and I'm going to take my iron and I'm just going to lower and lift. Don't think that you need to drag it along, and you don't need to use steam either. Just kind of heat set it and flatten out all of the areas around. Take your time as you're working around your block. Great. And once you have it all pressed, then you can move your ironing station away, and we're going to do the next very fun section. So this is where we're going to line up our crosshairs along with the crosshairs on the Cute Cuts ruler. Again, I would just like to remind you that there is on the bottom of every single block is a trimming for machine embroidery block. It tells you which block it is, just so that you can reference and make sure you're on the right page. Although we do have that band that matches, so you can make sure you're on the right page. And then whatever size you've stitched out, it tells you which trim it ruler to be using. I did the 6x10 size, so I'm going to be using the 6.5 by 6.5 trim it ruler. So here I'm going to line up the very center of the crosshairs and make sure it's straight vertically and horizontally. And then I just like to take my finger and run it along the seam allowance, and just make sure that none of my designs are edging into there, or it's crooked in any way, or the fabric is. crooked or it's caught underneath. And then you can just take your rotary cutter and cut your block. I'm cutting the first two sides just like I have been for the tearaway stabilizer, and then I'm going to rotate the block around. Again, before you cut, just make sure that nothing shifted when you were rotating. And let's do that again. Okay, here it's coming. It's coming along quite well. The last step we do is we're going to gently tear away that basting stitch. So you can take your seam ripper at the back, and if you've used this on different color thread, you can easily grab it. But even if you haven't, just go nice and slow and just make sure you're just grabbing that basting stitch. It's quite a bit bigger than anything else, and you don't need to grab it in every spot, but just a few of every second or third one is good. I have a little piece of stabilizer I can pull out here now. And then when you pull it on this side, all you need to do is just grab it gently, and the whole thing just pulls out. So easy. And we're just going to get it pulled out here. Don't force anything, and just get all of the little bobbin threads at the bottom as well. And just like that, you have your shaker block ready and finished to go. Look at that beautiful block. That is so exciting. So the last thing we always do is just take our label, since we have it already, and I am going to use a pin and pin it to the back. Pin it to the back of your project, and that way when we get to the setting, it's really easy, and so know which block you're at and that it's labeled and ready to go. Are you ready for a celebration to see all of our past blocks? Let's go for it. Okay, here they are. Let's start here, and we'll just start putting them all out. If you've wanted to stitch any of these out, or maybe you want to go back and stitch another one, come on over and join us over at the YouTube channel. Again, we have the Riley Blake Designs Machine Embroidery Facebook group. We're getting so many. The Facebook group called RBD M.E Machine Embroidery. We'd love to see what you are stitching out and what your designs are looking like. And we can't wait to see what you create with the Prim Stitch Along. Thanks so much for being here.